Welcome back. Let's get right into looking at some original andirons and talking about our design. Okay, starting right here with this drawing here. Let's just talk about the general shape of a set of andirons. You have this back piece that's coming back here. You have, and that supports the logs. We have two legs in front that give us stabilization for our center post going up. First of all, we'll talk about this piece right here. Okay, I'm going to call this the dog leg. This piece, the logs sit on this, and it's really the whole basis of the andiron in the first place. They were fire dogs. And so this piece here holds the logs up off the floor, and there's really nothing to this other than it has to be a heavy bar because it's going to be holding up logs under a tremendous amount of heat. So it could deform if it's not. So you can see in this particular drawing, it's a stout bar. And you're not going to do much in the way of decorative there because it is in the fire all the time. It's not seen, and it's going to be deteriorating over time because of the heat. The one thing I would say, though, in this project is this 90-degree right here. This is a great opportunity for you to learn to put a nice 90, a sharp 90 in a bar. Now, if I were making this, let's say, I would probably make this no less than 3/4 inch thick, probably a 1-inch bar. Here in this case, it's looking like it could be every bit of 3/4 by 1, 3/4 thick by 1, and it's 1 inch this way, standing up. So it's going to take the weight of the fire under the heat with the heat and not bend. But getting this 90 in here, if you're not really familiar with making 90s, I recommend that you take and watch Lee Sauter's video on forging a 90. I'm going to put a link of it with it in the description. There will be a link, and go ahead and watch that. And it's a wonderful way to learn to put a good, sharp 90 with the least amount of effort. It's an excellent technique, and I'll be using it in the class, of course. But so that being said, I don't put any time or effort into this piece. However, Gabriel just did a demonstration for the Rocky Mountain Smiths, and he did, in fact, embellish this a little bit. He came up with he brought this up to a point some and then came down, okay, with that. And he had some chisel work. I'll show you a picture of it here. Here you can see it. So, and then here's a drawing for an original that was probably the inspiration for Gabriel on this piece. So that being said, you can embellish it and do it, but I don't see any point in it because it's never going to be seen. It's back in the fire, and it's going to eventually be destroyed. So now we'll go ahead, go forward to the front legs here. Now, the front legs are often in two categories. One is a bit of a C, okay? This is just this arch, okay? The other one is more like this. I would say that these two are the most common styles of front legs that you'll see. All right, so let's go back over to this guy here, and we'll talk about him a little bit first. Now this is going to be made from flat stock. Your central piece goes up here like this, and this here we are in our central piece on this particular one. Let's just put our central pieces up in here. Okay, so here's your central piece coming down here, and it mounts through this piece. Now this piece is usually made up of a flat stock material. Okay, I'm going to draw this coming down here like this a little bit more. Okay, flat stock material. Forgive my drawings. Hopefully this inspires you to, no matter what kind of an artist you are, to say, okay, I can do that bad. I can draw like that better than him. So go for it. Okay. So basically, you have an arch. At the base of this arch, you come down to a foot. Oftentimes, it's tapered out and just turned into a roll. Okay. I've done a few, and I just taper them and roll. Another type of foot would be to do a 90 and put a nice big fat foot on there. Again, forgive the drawing. Oops. And that's what I believe Gabriel did in his demonstration, that he had this kind of a foot on the piece. You could also just upset this, okay? You could just upset this metal and it come down here like that. So, and it's done with a rectangular piece of metal, let's say like this. And it has to be pretty stout, pretty thick and heavy. Usually, we're talking Gothic stuff here, so this is usually pretty heavy, bent around and brought down. So let's say, for example, if it was 3/8 by what do we have here, 2.5, I would go like 3/8 by 2.5 at least, maybe 3/8 by 3. So along with that, now you're going to have to embellish this a little bit. This is Gothic ironwork. It's going to be embellished. You can simply embellish it by putting in, and when I say embellished, that means there's going to be some texture or usually chisel work. Okay, you could just take and run a chisel line down the bar on either side, like that. Okay, and it would look a little bit like this piece here. Okay, isn't that nice? Now, when you're doing chisel work, this is heavy material. We're not talking thin stuff here. Everything is well over a 1/4 inch. So go deep. We want to see this piece. We want it to be bold. We want to see it. So go deep with your chisel work. All right. After that, you could embellish it even further. Now that's the least you could do, and that would look real good. Just lines. You could do 3 lines or 4 lines in there. That would be simple, and that would be good. Another thing you could do is you could come in here and with the chisel and come across it there, 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 and there. Um, Not so bad, huh? Maybe take a center punch, put a punch mark, there, there, and you have a good-looking piece here. Let's just try it on here, on this guy. See how nice that would look then with your chisel work? So you could do chisel work. Now there's no limit to what you can do here in chisel. And if you look at Yellen work or any old medieval stuff, Gothic work, you'll see variations. We could do variations on that. Look at that. We can throw just a simple extra line like that, and all of a sudden that changes it. So there's no limit to that, and we're going to get into we're going to do a whole video just on chisel work. Okay, going. Okay. Another thing you could do, you could also do chisel work on the edge, and that looks very nice. Maybe just dots. That looks good too. You can just sit there with a center punch and put dots in it. That would look good. So back to the tracery here. They go with a they will go with another piece of metal that's not as wide, not as thick, and perhaps go like this with it. Come up around. This is, this is pure Gothic tracery. Doesn't get any better than this, right? And all of a sudden, you can see what we have here. And if we had our chisel work on here, so here's we're getting started, right? Uh, Backing up to the feet, if you're really talented or you're so inclined, this foot doesn't have to be square like that, okay? This foot does not have to be just square like that. You could forge it into a claw foot, you know, a lion's claw or a dragon's foot. If you're talented enough, forge that into a foot. So there's a couple of options there. If we go over to this one now, and I'm going to go ahead and run this down here like this to get the same idea of what we're doing. Now again, your base oftentimes is just bumped up here, upset a little bit, so it flares out. Very good looking, flares out. Or you can do again as Gabriel did. Another very traditional, very good looking thing is to have a foot right here. Okay. So how are we going to make that thing? A lot of people would say, okay, just take your center bar and split it up, pull it out, and make your legs. I don't subscribe to that. That's a lot of work. These two pieces each should be more than half of what the volume is on this. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to get that if you just split it in half. You'd have half, half, and half. Let's say it's a 1 inch bar. You'd end up with a half inch bar here and a half-inch bar here, half by one, and a 1 inch square going up. If you were to do that, it's a lot of work. It's hard to get it clean. I don't prescribe to that. It's much better. If I were doing it, I would go right here. Here's two pieces of 1 inch wide, 5/8 thick, and I would forge weld these together right here and then scarf it right away so that I can bring my 1 inch square bar down onto it and weld it and go on. But then I have these 5/8 by 1, and then of course I would bend them out and over and down. Now remember, when you're doing either of these, you have to do your feet first. You're going to want to do any embellishment that you're going to do to it before you put this together, because it'll be difficult to do it afterwards. You'll be unwieldy. It'll be a lot to handle. So do that first, then put them together. Now again, you can embellish these. Um, you can get really fancy with this. Maybe you want to go like that with your chisel work. And right on down the line, and then put these together, and there you have it. All right. These, because they are so thick here, are just dying to be embellished on the edge as well. Now, when we talked about the tracery, again, you can add tracery to this. You know, this piece here would look really good if it kind of came like this, like that, and like that. And let's do it. It kind of goes up like that and comes down like that. But there you have it, right? There's that tracery work. Again, this would be a smaller bar. And when you're going to forge weld these together, you're going to tuck those in there before you forge weld them together and forge weld it all together at one time. All right? So that's the idea there behind those two bases. After that, we have our uprights. And our uprights are usually square bars, let's say, for the most part. You can, being that they're square bars, you could do some chisel work on there to embellish them. You could twist the bars at some point, and that really looks good. And sometimes these are made of multiple bars. You could take 4 bars and bundle them together. and forge them up. I've seen them done where they came up and did not work right here in the middle, and then went on up, or they had 4 bars and they twisted them. So you can do that. Um, see. Another thing that is done quite often is halfway up or partially up the bar, sometimes low, some whatever. They will wrap a piece of steel around here and create a boss. Okay, a ball, a steel ball, or a boss coming out, depending on how they texture it or forge it, and that looks really good. Sometimes they'll even do chisel work on the boss. Another option, sometimes below the boss or right with the boss, there'll be a ring on the front. Quite often, they will forge a ring on the front of it. Okay, and there we have a ring hanging down off of it. Very good looking. And then again, in the ring comes chisel work and texturing. All right, there isn't anything you can't do, or it could be a rope. It could be a bunch of bars twisted around to create a rope to make the ring. Really nice. Other than that, another thing that you see quite often on these is there is a hook, a single hook, usually low, and it comes on out from the front. It passes through the bar, comes on out, and then it goes on up, and then maybe it curls around. Let me show you a few examples of that. Now again, this hook can be embellished as well, and it would be if it's Gothic, right? We're going to come up here with some twists. You could possibly have a dragon head here. You could have a wizard face or a person's face. We're going to call it a person's face. We're not talking. Okay, a nice curly Q or a griffin face or something up there would be great. Now, quite often, so they'll have these low, and the purpose of that is to hold a long skewer bar across in front of the fire. So if we go back now to this guy, here you see another option in which they put several hooks on the front. And in that case, they would be cooking off of these, and there would be a long spit going through so they could adjust the height. All right? Really nice. I like that. And then again, chisel work could be done anywhere on these. And the last thing to talk about and think about when you're designing your andirons is the finial. You see, this one has I'm going to call it a hex ball. There's a name for that actually. But you forged around, see it's tapered down, and then you forge those ball on the end of it and give it all those facets and bring it around, and it looks really beautiful. That could even be just straight on top of there. It could be a round ball on top of there, like a large round ball on there. It could be a griffin head or a dragon head, a grotesque of some kind on there. Now my favorite finial, and you saw it in my drawing. Here, let me show it to you again, just that part. Oftentimes they will put a trivet or a basket. I love the basket. A trivet to hold something, a warming saucer pan or something like that. But I love it when they do this basket thing. And you saw it in my drawing again. And it's to hold a crock in there. I would imagine that they were warming something, sauces or something, maybe a hot toddy or something. I don't know exactly what they were warming it. So they would have this basket, and maybe it's made up of, here I'm going to show about 6 bars coming up out of it. Okay, like that. And each one of these bars twisted. And so then a crock sits down in there. Most of the time we have a top ring to hold it all together. And again, the chisel work like you saw in my drawing. In my drawing, I've had have addition of a little bit of forge work here, maybe pieces coming down like that. I don't know what I did. So those are some things to think about with your andiron. Your back dog leg, go ahead and learn the 90. Your front feet, make a decision here of the two different styles, and I'm going to show you some other ones here. Then think about your center post. How's it going to be? Is it going to have a single hook, we'll call it? Is it going to have a ring, a boss? Um, and then finishing it up, what are you going to do up here? Steel balls, very, very nice. Maybe you're going to put a gargoyle head up there. Maybe you're going to go with the basket like I do. So draw some variations now, and there you have it. That's it. All right. I hope I wasn't too confusing to you there. I get confused myself. Um, so gives you some ideas on what to do. Now, just a thought. I know it's tempting to do everything, to do all the bells and whistles, to put everything into this. And you saw in my drawings that I had done years ago, I put everything into it. I tried a little bit of everything. That's great, and Gothic ironwork is flamboyant. It's got it all. But I would recommend keeping within your comfort zone of what you can do. And, a good, well executed piece brings you far more uh, satisfaction in the end than trying to do everything and just not it gets muddled up. Okay, now I know you're not going to do that in this class. You're going to push the limits of what you can do, but you're still going to do a nice piece. So, but that's just a thought I'd like to share with you. Clean lines, well execution outdoes bells and whistles and flamboyancy, in my opinion, every day. And in our next video, no more of this standing around here with the chalkboards and stuff. We're going to put on your apron and it'll be forging. And we're going to start at the base. We're going to forge these legs. Okay. So go see that video of Lee Sodders. Follow the link below. Learn to do that 90 good. You'll even if no matter what, it'll be good for you. So okay. See you next time.